What's the prayer today? Somebody remind me. Sorry?
How to fix the problem in Islam from Palestine.
Yeah, yes, brother.
Pennsylvania to Palestine.
Pennsylvania to Palestine.
Yeah.
So I think the subtitle is What's Wrong with the Ummah and How to Fix It. I'd like to, I wish I could change it a little bit. What ails the Ummah I think is better rather than saying what's wrong. What ails the Ummah and how to fix it, inshallah. So this is not going to be exhaustive. I'm not going to be able to do everything that's going on with the Ummah, everything that we're struggling with as an Ummah. And I'm not going to be able to offer every solution. But I hope, inshallah, Azza wa Jalla, capture some of the essential things that ail our Ummah. And once we have that diagnosis, hopefully we can start to clarify what we need to do to shape things up, inshallah.
Amen.
So I'll ask you all, what is ailing the Ummah? What's wrong with our Ummah right now? Yes, yeah, I'm asking this minute.
Like a sisterhood, like a brotherhood, like a commitment with
Jazakumullah khairan. Lack of brotherhood and sisterhood and connecting to each other.
Well, the problem of the Ummah today, Inna Allah la yukhayyiru ma bi qawmin hatta yukhayyiru ma fi anfusihim.
What does that mean?
We need to Allah created us for everything. We can only take the gift from the Allah give to us for ourselves. Allah will not take it from us unless we do things that means we take it from ourselves.
Did everybody hear that? No. Okay, yeah, sorry. The brother was saying that's part of the problem with being so separated. That might be a sign. The brother was saying, he quoted an ayah of the Quran where Allah Azza wa Jalla says, the condition of people. I don't have the microphone live. Okay, I'll let you go. No, I think he's getting it. I think he's getting it. Jazakallah khair. Brother, what they're saying that Allah doesn't change the condition of a qawm of a people until they change what's in themselves. And he was mentioning that Allah has given us everything. It's us rejecting all of the things Allah has given us. It's not Allah necessarily depriving us of it. That's a good thought. Anyone else? This, by the way, is a sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ, if you read many ahadith, the Prophet ﷺ, he would start by asking the Sahaba a question. There's many ahadith you see that the Prophet ﷺ would say, what do you think about so-and-so person, think about such and such? What do you think is about such and such? He would ask the Sahaba and they would engage. That's another thing that's ailing our Ummah, is that we're very disconnected that way. It's like a talk, the person comes and he talks at people. It goes in one ear, it goes out the other, right? So the Prophet ﷺ, khayru mu'allamin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the best teacher. So we try to take his example. Bismillah, more.
I think there is this feeling of powerlessness or hopelessness in some way. I feel like we see going on around us and they affect us emotionally. We don't really know how to express our what's happening around and what actions to take. So there's this feeling of powerlessness or feeling of I don't have agency. I can't really affect things.
Yeah, does everybody have that feeling? I feel that way a lot. Does everybody that way? You too.
Yeah.
I feel that way.
I'm gonna add something on that.
Yes.
Avoid the idea of my brother who say we Muslim right now we look powerless, and for that we related to, if in my mind that is related by the fact we don't follow maybe the sunnah or what tell us to do. Because if we today as Muslims are going around with like this killing, we are not respond to that. Like how I is powerless, right? But God give me the way to be powerful in the Quran. Because like in Surah Al-Anfal, he talk about to be prepared to get like when to be powerful, where he say فَإِدُّوا لَهُمَا اسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ. So today if I see the Ummah we become powerless, that means we not follow what the Quran says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jazakallah khair. I'm gonna add something to that. I'm gonna ask you all to help me finish that. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا عليكم أنفسكم لا يضركم من ضل. Who can finish the ayah? Who can help me finish the ayah? You can. من ضل إذا اهتديتم لا يضركم من ضل إذا اهتديتم. What does that mean? What does that mean? يا أيها الذين عليكم أنفسكم لا يضركم من ضل إذا اهتديتم. There's a beautiful hadith about this ayah as well that I want to point out. So let me tell you the hadith, and it is a transition of this ayah as well. عن أبي بكر الصديق قال يا أيها الناس إنكم لتقرؤون هذه الآية يا أيها الذين آمنوا عليكم أنفسكم لا يضركم من ضل إذا اهتديتم وإني سمعت رسول صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول إن الناس إذا غاروا الظالم فلم يأخذوا على يدي أوشك أن يعمهم الله بعقاب منه. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq are saying, the situation that we find ourselves in, ultimately it seems to me that it's from our own hands. بما كسبت أيديكم, right? وما أصابكم من مصيبة فبما كسبت أيديكم ويعفو عن كثير بما كسبت أيديكم ويعفو عن كثير. And what befalls you of calamities is what your own hands have earned. And He pardons a great deal. So one of the things I take from this ayah is that Allah Azza wa Jalla says elsewhere, وَلَوْ يُؤَخِّرُ اللَّهُ النَّاسَ بِمَا كَسَبُوا مَا تَرَكَ عَلَى ظَهْرِهَا مِن دَابَّةٍ وَلَكِنْ يُؤَخِّرُهُمْ إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ مُّسَمًّى. That, O people, if Allah Azza wa Jalla was to take people to account for their hands had earned, there would be not a single living beast on the land. If Allah took us to account with what we do, there would be not a single beast left on the land. وَلَكِنْ يُؤَخِّرُهُمْ إِلَىٰ أَجَلٍ مُّسَمًّى. But Allah Azza wa Jalla, He delays the taking to account until a fixed, appointed time. فَإِذَا جَاءَ أَجَلُهُمْ فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ كَانَ بِعِبَادِهِ بَصِيرًا. And if when that time comes, then Allah sees everything that His slaves do. So as I said, all of whatever afflicts us, بِمَا كَسَبَتْ أَيْدِيكُمْ, our hands have earned, and He pardons a great deal. So most of what we do, most of the that we do, Allah Azza wa Jalla, He lets it go. The overwhelming majority. The Prophet said, Hadith Qudsi, that Allah said, يَا ابْنَ آدَمْ إِنَّكُمْ تَأْتُونَ بِاللَّيْلِ وَالنَّهَارِ وَأَنَا أَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ جَمِيعًا فَاسْتَغْفِرُونِي. Right? O children of Adam, you make mistakes day and night. Day and night, you're making mistakes. And I forgive all sins altogether. So seek my forgiveness, I will forgive you. So Allah Azza wa Jalla is all the time pardoning us, even though we're making mistakes all the time. But when it gets to a certain threshold, then something comes back. Right? So Bismillah, you were going to mention something.
Yes, I didn't understand the question, but my observation is that with our Ummah, I think that in the Quran it has been said that we have been recommended as a Muslim to have alliance with Muslim. It is not the case right now. And we are more interested also in worldly matters than what we to focus on our iman. That is what I observed everywhere. I think that if we have some challenges right now, it depends on this fact.
جزاكم الله خيرا. led me right to the next hadith I wanted to mention. I'm sure you all know this hadith. It's just a reminder for all of us. That Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam يوشك الأمم أن تدعى عليكم كما تدعى إلى قصعتها فقال قائل ومن قلة نحن يوم قال بل أنتم يومئذ كثير ولكنكم غثاء كغثاء السيل ولينزعن الله من صدور عدوكم المهابة منكم وليقذفن الله في قلوبكم الوهن. Pause there for a second. The Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that soon people want to come together to attack you the way they will summon each other to attack you the way that somebody might attack people or invite people to share a dish to eat. Someone asks, will that be because we're so few in number at that time? That's what it would sound like, right? So if something like that was happening, that anybody can just call, oh yeah, these Muslims, we can do whatever we want with them. It must be we're few in number. So if somebody asks, is it because we're few in number? Because that's what makes sense. But the Messenger of Allah responded, no, actually you will be great in number at that time. Great in number at that time. But you will be scum and rubbish like that which is carried away by the torrents, by the rain comes. And Allah will remove any fear in the heart of your enemies from them. And Allah will put a weakness. وَلِيَقْذِفَنَّ اللَّهُ فِي قُلُوبِكُمُ الْوَهْنَ فَقَالَ قَائِلٌ يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ وَمَا الْوَهْنُ. And a person said, what is this? What is this weakness? What is this chink in the armor of the heart? Does anyone know the right? Most of you probably know the rest. قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم حب الدنيا وكراهية الموت. The love of dunya and the hatred of death. Allah knows best. This is the situation that I see. When I look, it's like, whether it's, some meeting UN, whether it's some meeting between this country or that country, whatever. And it's not just Palestine. It's not just Palestine. It's all everywhere. It's Burma, it's Syria, it's the Muslims here. Our brother Marcellus, Khalifa Marcellus was just martyred, those of you know, in Missouri, rahmatullah ta'ala alayh, on false pretenses, on false charges. He was the prosecutor and the family of the person who was falsely accused somebody. And the evidence pointed that he was not guilty, so the prosecutor asked the governor to commute the sentence. The family asked the governor, the person was killed, asked the governor to commute the sentence, but they didn't. And they just martyred him, I think, yesterday. Rahmatullah ta'ala. So wherever you look, somebody wants to take a bite out of the Muslims, they can do it. And they call each other to do it. And there's lots of us. There's almost 2 billion Muslims. I mean, it's almost, if you can imagine, at the time of the Prophet ﷺ, when they left Mecca, there was a handful. I don't think you can conceive of, radiallahu anhum, what 2 billion people. There was not 2 billion people on the whole earth at that time. On the whole earth, there were not 2 billion people at the time of the Sahaba. Now there's just 2 billion Muslims out of 7 or 8 billion, a quarter of the world. So, بَلْ أَنْتُمْ يَوْمَئِذٍ كَثِيرٌ, as the Prophet said. And Allah knows best that this hadith is applying, but this is what I see, Allah. But in terms of this, in terms of having one body, as the brother was saying, you don't see any alliances between Muslims. There's no Muslim trying to help or protect a Muslim. Even if they want to, they're not in a position to do so. We want to help, we don't want to do, right? This is our condition that I see, Allah Ta'ala. And there's no fear, nobody has any fear of us. Nobody fears that, oh, if we attack them, then something's going to come back. Nobody's afraid of that. Even the politicians, they go up and they debate each other and they take turns. No, I love the enemy. No, I love the enemy. No, I don't care about Muslims. They're competing with each other because they don't care about us. They're not afraid that there's going to be any blowback from us. They're not afraid of us. And the Messenger of Allah tells us what is the central thing that makes that this is why, that this is how we are. حُبُّ الدُّنْيَا وَكَرَاهِيَةُ الْمَوْتِ. That we love the dunya and we hate death. So Allah, that's the way I see the central diagnosis of Rasulullah. How do you get to this place? How do you get to this situation, this condition where you have 2 billion Muslims and we can do whatever they want? That's if those 2 billion Muslims are afflicted by this disease in their heart, which is that they love the dunya, they love worldly things, the material things, they hate the death. And our Salaf were the opposite of this. The Prophet ﷺ described the Muslims as dunya sijnul mu'min wa jannatul kafir. The dunya is the prison of the believer and the Jannah for the kafir. That doesn't mean that the Muslim always has things bad here and that the kafir always has things good here. No, actually it's the opposite. The point is that no matter how good you have it here, if you're a believer, what's coming next is much better. So you're stuck here, you're imprisoned here. You could be in the best, most low, minimum security, nicest resort, Martha Stewart prison world, but you're still a prisoner. No matter how nice it is, it's still a prisoner. And you long for the freedom of what comes next, because you have firm faith in what comes next. You're longing for what the akhirah, because you're hoping, you have the raja, you have the longing for Allah, the meeting with Allah, for real life to begin. This is just the test has to be done. You want it to be over already. Let me get to my results. I've been studying hard, working hard. I want it to be done. Let me get to the real thing. But if what's coming to you is only worse, this is as good as it gets. This is your Jannah. Not because this is good. This dunya is bad for everybody. For the richest person, the most powerful person, this dunya is a test. Go ask the biggest billionaire. And I don't want to mention names, but if you take one look in the news, all the celebrities, all the billionaires, all the leaders and captains of industry, all the politicians, all the whatever, look at the news as it's narrated just on the news. And Allah A'lam how much is true and how much is not. But it doesn't look that good to me. Sure, I'd rather have $1 billion than have what I have, sure. But I don't want their life. Their life has problems. Do they have more problems? I have more problems? I don't know. Really, I don't know. But it's not that great. The best in the world, it's not that much. And the Prophet narrated to us that Allah Azza wa Jalla said the dunya had even the weight, the value of the wing of a mosquito. Allah would not let a kafir have one sip of water. Not one sip of water. If the dunya mattered as much as the wing of a mosquito, the adl of Allah would not let a bad person take something of value and deprive it from somebody good. But that's how little dunya has value. It doesn't matter anything. So He lets people have what they have. This is just the proving ground. This is not real life. But we are stuck in dunya. We love this world. Hate the next world. So Wallahu A'lam, that's what I see as the central diagnosis. It's a spiritual malady. It's from the heart. Right? So, now that that's right, this is something from Iman. This is something from Iman. And this is the Prophet is talking about the Ummah. He's not talking about disbelievers. He's talking to believers. So there is Iman in our hearts. There's something there. Inshallah, we hope. There's some flicker. But it's overcome by this world so much. That something back to, there's an akhirah. There's an Allah. There's a qiyamah. So I'll pray 1-2 prayers. I'll do this, I'll do that. But my central, when I wake in the morning, the thing that worries me, the thing that occupies me, the effort that I put in from the day to the night, most of us is the dunya, right? I got my 9-to-5 job, that's already 8 hours, right, out of the day. Oh, I gotta rest up, I got work tomorrow. Then I've got my commute, then I've got my this, and I'm not putting your jobs. But when you're working, where is your in your heart? Your attention is to the dunya most of the time, not to Allah. A lot of us, we don't even say Bismillah when we start our work, right? When you start your day, at least say Bismillah when you start your work. Oh Allah, make an intention. Allah, I'm doing this work. I'm hoping to provide a halal rizq for my family. I'm seeking from the tree that you made lawful for me. Allah, you commanded me in the Quran, tell me the bounty of Allah. So many intentions you could make. But most of the time, we're not thinking about Allah at all. We're just thinking, how do I dollar bill? That's it. Just grinding, going through the motions. Just like no difference between us and a non-Muslim. We work, they go to work. We eat food, they eat food. They have a wife, we have a wife. They have children, we have children. That's Muslim and non-Muslim. Now, you have a cow. You have a cow. They have spouses, we have spouses. They have children, we have. They eat grass, we eat them. What's the difference? Allah says about the disbelievers, they're just like cattle, they're just like cows. No, they're even more astray because at least the cow is doing cow stuff. That's what the cow is supposed to do. That's not what a human being is supposed to do. At least the cow is fulfilling the cow role. But the human being is not living up to the role. So if a human is acting like a cow, it's not excusable. If a cow acts like a cow, great. If a human is acting like a cow, it's not okay. It's cool. But that's what we found ourselves in. May Allah forgive us. May Allah remove us. So the first thing Allah Azza wa Jalla, we have to remember Allah Azza wa Jalla. We have to remember the ajra. We have to remember the meaning with Allah Azza wa Jalla. We need to become purposeful about the things that we're doing. A lot of times we hear, and I'm the first culprit in this, I'm so busy, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this. Yes, we have all of these wajibat, all these things that we are committed to and that we have to do. But at the minimum, start to do them for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Start to think, why am I doing this thing? What am I doing it for? And remember Allah in the thing that you're doing. Even if it's for your dunya, in the benefit of your dunya, remember Allah in it. Remember Allah in it. It doesn't take much out of your day to say Bismillah, to make dhikr of Allah while you're doing your work. And remember often that time when you're going to meet Allah Azza wa Jalla. وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا تُرْجَعُونَ فِيهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ ثُمَّ تُوَفَّى كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَا كَسَبَتْ وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ. Have taqwa of the day that you're going to return to Allah. And every single person is going to be given the full account of what they did, and no one is going to be wrong. No one is going to be wrong. I love this. The Shaykh said the other day, nobody's going to go to the hellfire except they were given every chance to themselves. They were given every opportunity to present every excuse. Allah will consider every single thing. Nobody will be in the hellfire except they deserve it. No one. No one's going there by mistake. Every single person of the hellfire deserved it. There will be many people in Jannah that Allah Azza wa Jalla will enter them only just by His mercy. That's all of us will enter Jannah by His mercy, by His fadl. But nobody enters the hellfire arbitrary. Every person enters the hellfire because they deserve it, they earned it. After every mercy, after every opportunity, after every chance, they turn away and they turn away and they turn away and they turn away and they persist in turning away until the very last breath goes, and only then is it over. Until the last breath they have a chance to make tawbah. Until the last moment. But after they exhaust every chance Allah gave them, then they go to the hellfire. That's it. May Allah forgive us, may Allah protect us. So this is step one. We have to recognize how much the dunya has entered into us. Now, as we think about what's going on around us, I don't want this to be like a purely spiritual conversation. I want to connect these spiritual things, these qalbi ruhani things. I like qalbi, not ruhani. Ruhani is spiritual. I don't like that word as much. It's not, you don't really find it in the sunnah. The things in the heart, the things Allah Azza wa Jalla prescribed for us are connected directly in a practical sense to the situation in the ummah. In a practical sense. So what's my core doubt is that we love the dunya too much. So how do we get out of that? We have to stick to the book and the sunnah. We have to stick to the Quran. We have to stick to the sunnah. Every single teaching, the whole teaching of the sunnah needs to come into play if we're going to fix this. Every teaching of the Prophet needs to come into play. We can't be tu'minuna bi ba'di kitab wa takfuruna bi ba'di book and leave part of the book. Okay, we can't be like, I'm going to do salah really good, but I'm also going to own a liquor store because there's a lot of money in that. That's not going to work. We can't be, I'm going to be going to Jum'ah, but I'm not paying zakat. It's not going to work. We're not going to get places if that's where we are as an ummah. You have to take the whole thing, right? So now I'm going to try to point to you that the things that the Prophet ﷺ taught us, the things that the Quran teaches us, are directly related to why we're in the condition that we're in. As the brother said, I don't see him now. Allah Jalla khairan. I'm not sure where he stepped away. But the brother was talking about the ayah in Surah Al-Anfal, that if you work together and get yourself prepared and defend yourself and things like that, then people are going to come. So you see a direct connection between ayah of Quran and practical thing. But even this question about loving the dunya and hating, what does that have to do with our ummah like getting together? Yes, the spiritual part, which is that if you love the dunya too much, then Allah's assistance is not going to come. That's the main thing. When you follow Allah Azza wa Jalla and His Messenger, even if there's no worldly path to success, Allah will give you success. That's the first thing I want to mention. Even if there's no path to success, Allah opens the path to success. But what I'm going to tell you is that in following Allah and His Messenger, that creates the path also. That creates the path also. In a practical sense, in a way that you can be in touch. When you love the dunya, and your horizon only goes as far as me, my life, my wealth, my house, my kids, my job, until my death, you don't have much capacity to do anything to affect a community. You don't have any capacity to do anything to free this people or that people. You don't. You look at everything in human history that where you take a weaker power and they had to become a tyrannical power, they had to be willing to make some sacrifices. In all of history, this is not just Muslims, in all of history, at some point, people become so downtrodden and oppressed that they say, forget it, I got nothing to lose, so I'm going to fight back. That's when usually people fight back. When you lose, then they fight back. We, as Muslims, we ask, even when you have something to lose, you should still be willing to put it up for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla. The Muslims in the time of the Prophet ﷺ, some of them didn't have much. They didn't have much to lose. Some of them had a lot to lose. And many of we give the highest honor to them. Sayyidina Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he had a lot to lose. And he lost for the sake of Allah. And he didn't mind. Because he's willing to sacrifice. Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan radiallahu anhu, he had a lot to lose. Very wealthy. But he gave it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jalla. He didn't mind. He was ready to make the sacrifice. Right? So we're like waiting for like, oh, let somebody else do it. Because I have a lot to lose. And if you're in that mindset, you can't accomplish anything. Because you're always just going to be protective of your own individual interest. And the community will never go anywhere with people like that. I'm just telling you in a practical sense. This is not like a spiritual thing. Any community of people, they never organized anything if every single person is only looking out for themselves. And every single person is only focused on own dunya, they never got anywhere. Okay? So that's like point number one. So I'm going to continue to give practical examples from the Sunnah, something the Prophet ﷺ taught us, and how it's important in community building and in movement building. Forgiveness, for example. The Prophet ﷺ, there's so many ahadith, as you know, about the Prophet ﷺ telling us to be forgiving. Right? Famous hadith of Sahabi, the Prophet he came 3 times, paraphrasing the hadith, he came 3 times, the Prophet ﷺ, each time he said, this is a person from Jannah, this is a person from Jannah, this is a person from Jannah. So another Sahabi went and followed him to his house, saw his worship, you all know the hadith, saw his worship, didn't do anything special, didn't do special tahajjud, didn't do anything from worship. He said, at the end of that stay, he said, this is what the Prophet ﷺ said, I didn't see anything special about you. Why do you think he said that? And the person says, you're right, it's just like you saw, there's nothing special about me except that at the end of the night, I forgive everybody. No matter what anybody did, I clean my heart. I don't have anything in my heart towards anybody else. It's very spiritual. Makes a person very loving to Allah. Allah's assistance come. But practically, if you're not forgiving, your movement won't go anywhere because you'll just fight each other. And we see that all the time. As the brother was saying, Muslims fighting Muslims all the time. Not fighting anybody else. Just each other. We cannot forgive each other. Sabr, having patience. Hilm, forbearance when people are harming, when people are saying things about you. That's definitely going to happen. You try to accomplish anything, you're going to get on your nerves. People are going to try to fight you. People are going to disagree with you. You have sabr, the movement's done. You're going to fight with this guy, I don't like this guy, I don't like that guy, I don't like this, that, and it's over. The movement stops. Again, I'm speaking practically. In terms of Allah Azza wa Jalla, when you show forgiveness, you show sabr, you show ilm, Allah sends all His blessings back upon you. But just if you don't have those characteristics, the movement fizzles. And you want to look at the movements in the country. There have been so many movements I've seen in the last 10, 15 years. Occupy Wall Street, Black Lives Matter, pick your movement, the Women's March, all these movements. What happened at the end of all of them? Not much. Why? Because Shaitan came and broke things into pieces. Because the people didn't have a spiritual core to hold them together. If one person disagreed with another person, they got onto Twitter and they started saying, oh, this person's like this. Oh, did you know this about that person? There's no character in their relationships. So they're fighting with each other, and they're not, whether you agree with that movement or not. But my point is, the movement didn't go anywhere because they didn't have spiritual fortitude. They didn't have the maturity as people, the akhlaq that's required to make a movement coherent, go forward and move forward. So those movements fizzle. You say, on the other hand, the civil rights movement in this country was anchored by two religious movements, the Christian movement and the Muslim movement. Even though the Muslim movement was not 100% Muslim the way it really should have been, maybe, but it was still religious movements because certain spiritual fortitude. Martin Luther King is not Muslim, but he took his tradition, his religious tradition, and he put that to work on a spiritual basis, on a spiritual foundation of patience, of forbearance, of working with each other, of solidarity, and so on and so forth. You read his work, God is mentioned all the time. The Bible is quoted all the time. The example of these people in their tradition is quoted all the time. And of course, we see that in Malcolm X and Rahimahullah and others. That's how you succeed. You need people to stick together. When the hoses are spraying on you, you push back against the hoses, not each other. But that's what we often do. That's where we fizzle out, because we don't have the tarbiyah, we're not trained, we're not ready for the moment. And I even saw it in the encampments here. I saw it in the encampments here. I went visited several of the encampments. There was a lot of infighting during the Palestine movement, just over there. There was a lot of infighting that was taking place amongst the students, trying to decide who controls the encampment. Not worrying, what about the police that are coming? What about the administrators? What about everybody against you? That's not the time to be fighting each other. Let your differences go and work together. But they didn't have the tarbiyah for it. They weren't ready spiritually for it. Because the reasons for them being there, their niyyah, their intentions, not for the sake of Allah, many of the people were there for all sorts of reasons. And those things were in conflict with each other. And they weren't ready to handle it. You get what I'm saying, right? The point is that these things that we learn from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, number one, if Allah accepts it and is pleased with it, His assistance will come in the end. Number one to the end. That's the whole story. But I'm explaining to you that there's a practical side of it too, right? Like siwak, right? You brush your teeth, right? The blessing comes from following the Sunnah. But it also said it makes your mouth smell nice, right? There's a practical element, right? You walk before you pray, before you read Quran. The angels are pleased, Allah is pleased, following the Sunnah of the Prophet. There's a spiritual component, but it's deeply practical. You're brushing your teeth for a while, right? So people around you are not, reading Quran, and then people are like, it's nice Quran, but this is, you know what I'm saying? There's a practical element to the Sunnah that we should not lose. So this is where if you take the whole the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, then you have building blocks. The last thing I want to say, and then we'll go back to discussion, and then we'll eat, inshallah. Last thing I want to say is pay attention to how much of the Sunnah is focused on Jama'ah, is focused on the group, is focused on the community. So much of the Sunnah, so much of the Quran is concerned with the community and the communal aspects of the believers. We reduce now the religion to just me and that's it. It's very individualistic. This is a cultural trait of Americans, right? We're very individualized people. So we even come to the Quran through that lens. What about me? What is my relationship? What is my akhirah? That's great. If you're thinking about your akhirah, that's great. But the Sahaba thought about each other's akhirah too. They thought about each other's condition too. They worked together, community. I'll give you some proofs of this. Surah An-Nur. What is Surah An-Nur famous for? Somebody. It's kind of like two big things that it's famous. It's a beautiful surah, many things in it. But like two overarching things. Anyone? Surah An-Nur. Qissat al-Ifk. Qissat al-Ifk. Anybody know what is the story of Ifk? Of Aisha? Right? Aisha was accused by the munafiqeen of doing indecency with Billah. And Allah did not reveal what actually happened to her for a little while. He let the Muslims stew. Let the community stew. And Allah and the rumors were flying. And the rumors were flying. And Allah says about that, لا تحسبوا شرا لكم بل هو خير لكم. Don't think that was bad for you, it's good for you. This is a teachable moment. You're going to learn something now. لولا إذ سمعتموه ظن المؤمنون والمؤمنات بأنفسهم خيرا وقالوا هذا إفك مبين. Why did the believers, when they heard about this, why didn't they think good things about the situation? Why didn't they have a good opinion and say this is a big accusation? The whole surah, the whole first 2 pages that are talking about if, they're not even directly addressing Aisha anha as much as they're addressing the community's failure to function as a healthy community. It's clear that she's free of the accusation from the surah, but the majority of these verses are actually telling the believers, this is, if somebody comes to accusation, they have to prove it this way. If they don't prove it, then they're liable. And if they prove it, then there's a punishment. And if you guys start talking, then this is the punishment. And this is what you guys did wrong by talking about it. By not having the community dynamics that would have prevented the situation. And Allah let that play out so He could teach the community of the Sahaba where they fell short. We fall a lot more short than that. We fall a lot, may Allah forgive us, right? But this whole first part of it is dedicated to that question. And then the ayat of hijab and so on and so forth. Again, we think about it individualistically. This sister is wearing, she's not wearing. This brother is looking, he's not looking. But it's not the maslahah of the entire society. The whole society falls apart. When these indecencies become common. And you see that in the whole of the Western world. What are the things they're worried about? There's too many migrants, there's too many this, there's too many that. They're reproducing us when they're talking about the Latin Americans and the Muslims and so on and so forth. Why are we out reproducing you? Because your whole family dynamic. Why? Because you didn't follow the amr of Allah, the commands of Allah in honoring each other's spouses and honoring the family and so on and so forth. This whole huge part of the surah is talking about the community. In the end of the surah, the last ayat of the surah, is a beautiful ayah where Azza wa Jalla says, it starts with لَيْسَ عَلَى الْأَعْمَى حَرَجْ وَلَا عَلَى الْأَعْرَجِ حَرَجْ وَلَا عَلَى الْمَرِيضِ حَرَجْ. There is not to the blind person or disabled person or the sick person any blame, and that came elsewhere about fighting. So is this about fighting? Yeah, these people are excused, right? No, it says, أَن تَأْكُلُوا مِنْ بُيُوتِكُمْ أَوْ بُيُوتِ آبَائِكُمْ أَوْ بُيُوتِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ. There's no problem for these people if they eat in your houses, your house, your mother's house, your father's houses, your uncle's houses, maternal, your aunt's house, maternal, and it lists all these relationships a human being can have. This whole ayah is talking about eating each other. This huge ayah is talking about eating with each other, community. And then right after this, Allah Azza wa Jalla says about the believers, إنما المؤمنون الذين آمنوا بالله ورسوله وإذا كانوا معه على أمر جامع لم يذهبوا حتى يستأذنوا. That the believers are those who believe in Allah and His Messenger, and when they're with the Messenger upon a communal affair, communal action, لم يذهبوا حتى يستأذنوا. They don't even until they ask His permission. إن الذين يستأذنونك أولئك الذين يؤمنون بالله ورسوله. Those people who are asking permission, those are the ones who believe in Allah and His Messenger. فإذا استأذنوك لبعض شأنهم فأذن لمن شئت منهم واستغفر لهم الله. So if one of them comes seeking to be excused, excuse whoever you wish from among, addressing to the Prophet ﷺ. Right, the communal actions. We come to the communal prayer. We're thinking about 23 times the death of the prayer. But there are many secondary communal things that come when we come for the prayer. Well, I haven't seen this brother in a while. Where is he? Is he okay? Oh, he's sick? SubhanAllah, he's sick. I didn't even know. Let me go visit him. Let me do this. Oh, this person passed away? SubhanAllah, I didn't know this person was even sick. Let me go for the jannah. So on and so forth. There's all these secondary community. There's such an importance in this religious tradition about the community. So pay attention to the communal aspects of this religion. Don't think about everything through just your lens of ananiya, of nafs, myself. Right? Like you go as your community goes. And you should want for your brother what you want for yourself. That's not the golden rule of Christianity only, it's for us too. It's in our hadith too. Right? This is from our ummah, our community. And as we revive these things in our local setting, we hope Allah Azza wa Jalla will accept it from us. And at some point, when our community here in Norristown becomes whole again, then we can start acting as a functional Norristown community. And then we can start saying, well, why just North? There's a Valley Forge Masjid, there's a Khair Masjid, there's a Masjid in Willow Grove, there's all these masajid in Philadelphia. Let's get a couple things together and we work on a few of those things together. We can't even go to masajid because we're fighting each other. We're not doing much with each other to begin with. There's nothing stopping that. We build some ukhuwah, some brotherhood here, some community here. We can start to think bigger. And then you have the Philadelphia area Muslim is going to put themselves towards something. And then they're going to do it, and they're going to accomplish it with the will of Allah and His help. And then when it's the Philadelphia area, the Mid-Atlantic community. When it's the Mid-Atlantic community, it can be the American Muslim community. When it's the American Muslim community, it can be the Ummah Islamiyah, the whole of the Ummah. But you see what I'm saying? You start somewhere. You start in Dar al-Arqam, Ibn al-Arqam. Just one house in Mecca that the Prophet ﷺ used to teach out of. It starts with this house. But that's the sunnah of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Start small. Do what you can do where you are. Have your thoughts elsewhere. No problem. And have your dua there as well. So that's, what I'm mentioning. I just want to mention briefly, I don't want to go into a huge thing about it. Muslims, we have a problem with racism. We have a problem with tribalism. We have a problem with asabiyya, of thinking about only my group, my people, my this and my that. You have to, وَمَيْ يُقَشِّحَ نَفْسِهِ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. The person takes out the selfishness of the nafs, that's the person who succeeds. This was a context of the Ansar, who opened their homes to the Muhajirin who came from Mecca, right? They opened their homes. Some of them, they said, divorce my wife, have my wife, no problem. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just saying, this is how open they were. What is mine is yours, what's yours is mine. Whatever you want, you can have it. You can have my family, you can have my house. I'll go find somewhere else to live. That's how they opened themselves, even when they touched some of them, the Ansar. Because they saw when the Muhajirin came, these are the people that were with Prophet ﷺ first. These are the people that are honored. These are the people of Mecca. No problem, anything that I had. When we open our heart like this, inshallah, Allah, the assistance will come. I have no doubt the assistance will come. When we turn back to the real sunnah of the Prophet, the assistance of Allah will come. I ask Allah to help us in that. Bismillah, I'd love to hear, I've been talking for a while now, Allah forgive me, I'd love to hear everybody to say about that. How do we, put the rubber to the road now, inshallah. Astaghfirullah. Bismillah. Brothers, sisters, if you're able to be allowed. Bismillah.
We need homework.
We need homework for the individual, for everyone. Like clear steps, what should we do to unite this?
Allah is Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Our Shaykh Ta'ala, he advised us with kathrat al-du'a. Kathrat al-du'a. Allah du'a for the whole of the ummah. And he told us to make the ummah as big as we can. Forwards and backwards in time, and east and west in location. So he ordered us, Zawallah Khairan, Rahmatullah Ta'ala, that dua for all of the righteous of all times, for the prophets, all of them, for the Prophet ﷺ, for his wives, for his children, for the Sahaba anhum, the righteous scholars in the history, for each other, for your families, for your children, for yourself, for the people in your community, for the brothers who are in Gaza. Don't just complain, oh, this is happening, How much are we spending? Complain once or twice, and then 100 times more should be making dua. Unless your complaining is going to go somewhere, right? If you're talking to people and invite, but if we're just complaining nothing, you know what I'm saying? A lot of dua. Dua, Allah A'lam, it really makes ta'lif al-qulub. It really brings hearts together. Dua min zahri al-ghayb. It's in one riwayah the Prophet ﷺ, that when a person makes dua for another person and that person is not there to hear it, that dua and says, Ameen wa lakum bimith. Ameen, I say Ameen to your dua for that person, and may for you be the same like what you're making dua. The Sahaba used to dua for each other all the time. It was commonplace for them. They loved each other. They deeply loved each other. And the Prophet ﷺ used to make dua for his ummah. He used to make dua for us, right? And so, Allah, I think this is a big part of it. If you make a dua like this, where you're thinking forwards and backwards in time, one of the things that helps you is that when you look backwards in time, you see where they're coming from. You see the long line of righteousness, you see their struggles, you see their stories in the dua. The stories of the Quran come to you and you're making dua for them, you see in them. And when you go forwards in time, you're making dua for the future of the ummah, you start to cast your vision past your death. You start to cast your vision not in a way, am I going to see the fruit of this? It doesn't matter. The future ummah, they're going to see the fruit of this, inshallah. The Sahaba were doing stuff then for us. Back then, that's benefiting us now. So you go forwards and backwards in time, you can see the expanse of the project that we're a part of. This is a project that started a long time ago and will likely end long after us. And we can make ourselves one link in the chain. And then as I say, east and west, we should be making dua for each other. Allah Azza wa Jalla loves that people love each other for His sake. Riwayah Hasan, that my love is confirmed for those people who love each other for my sake. Allah Azza wa Jalla, Hadith Qudsi. But the Prophet said that Allah said, right? My love is confirmed for those who love each other for my sake. Sahih Hadith that one of the 7 groups of people that are under the shade of Allah Azza wa Jalla, on last day when there's no shade except His shade, one of those people is 2 people who loved each other only for Allah's sake. They would meet for Allah's sake and they would depart for Allah's sake. They had nothing else. They had no business, no nothing. They came for Allah's sake and they departed from each other for Allah's sake. So I hope Allah Azza wa Jalla accept this dua for me, that's one homework, that we make some dua for each other. Bismillah, Shaykh, what do you suggest for us? تفضل شيخ. نصيحة
لله.
بسم الله نصيحة.
حديث النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم إنما تنصرون أو هل تنصرون وترزقون إلا بإخلاص ودعائه.
الله يجزيكم. الله يجزيكم خير.
The saying that Prophet Muhammad said that only the provision and the victory come for you because of the weak people from the Ummah, the weak Muslims, because of the sincerity and the supplication.
الله يجزيكم خير. الله يبارك فيكم. I have to jump off that point for a minute. One of the terrible things that happened when we adopted this mahabbat al-dunya and karahat al-maut, this love for the dunya, is that we started to reclassify people and our relationships on the basis of the dunya and not on the akhirah. But just like I just said, that the person who's under the shade of Allah love each other for Allah's sake, for Allah's sake. Not, oh, this brother has a big house just like I have a big house. It's the same village that I'm from. That's no problem with that. But that's not the same thing. Right? And people are not up or down based on that. Based on how much money, based on how pretty they look, none of that matters. The people that have the honor with Allah are the people of taqwa. And that has led us to again start, just like the disbelievers look down on people who have less than us, look down on people of different color than us, and these are the people, particularly the du'afa, the weak ones, their du'as are the ones that sustain us. So we should be kissing their hands, asking them for dua. We should be asking them for their dua, for their companionship, for their sincerity, that some of that sincerity rubs off on us. And we worship these billionaires and whatever, these millionaires and stuff of Allah. And most of them are not even Muslim. And we're worshiping them, we're reading their, what is his day look like? What is so-and-so, he wakes up at such and such time and then he has this and this. Look at the Prophet, forget about these people. Right? So we're looking based on the dunya. Allah just precious now. Allah just. What else can we do? What practical things can we do for community making?
Assalamu alaikum. We are different people, different nationalities, different ethnicities. And to go on the point that you just mentioned, if we can come together and love one another only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I think we should first start looking inwards amongst ourselves. What I mean by that is each and every one of us, regardless of our nationality, regardless of our ethnicity, we have common problems. Each and every one of us share nearly the same problems. So if we can urge ourselves to start identifying these problems, like if you ask every household, this is just an example, if you ask every household to write out a couple of things that, is a problem, and we come together and we look at everything on an overall basis, and we start from there in that commonality, common problems, so that we can work. Because if we continue to go on and operate the way we're operating, you know, this ethnicities over this way, this nationalities over this way, and all we do, we come and form a salon. It's not going to work for the woman, because it's just like for the dunya, alhamdulillah. In that sense, the heavy has the scale tipping over this way, and the spirituality is less. So if we can come together and start identifying common problems amongst us and put our heads together, how to based upon Quran and Sunnah, you'll be surprised to see where we can go with that. And not forgetting the youths of the Ummah, we should give a chance to put forward their ideas about, you know, their aspirations and things that they can contemplate and imagine and want to work towards. But for the mature people, the adults, we have to come to a point whereby we have to sit down and identify common problems that affect each and every one of us. And these problems inhibits our progress and our closeness to God. Then when we can start working as a society, in our society, as a woman, together, then we can start reaching out to other communities. But I can show them what we have got. That's just my suggestion.
I would love to listen to answer for Brother question. It's a good question, but because of the time, we don't have time for the comment. So we can have a serious lesson about this. We can find the most common problems to have for every problem. Maybe some lessons to fix it. So I want to work in development.
No, it's okay. So, anybody else have last?
I want you to translate, put in the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam left us, because he said when we do this thing here, land, the land. He left our two things. When we follow those things, we will never be land tadilu. I will encourage myself and every one of us to remember that whatever I got, whatever you got, whatever he got, وفوق كل ذي علم عليم. First thing first, we will try to read. And when we read, we will try to understand. And when we understand, we will practice. That will help us.
Allah is in check. I just want to add, sisters, my apologies with the nature of this forum that we weren't able to hear from you. One of the things that we're going to need, if we want to push the community forward, is we're going to have to mobilize the sisters. The tremendous amount of talent, the capabilities that are behind the curtain, literally today. The Sahabiyat al-Ajma'in played critical roles in the advancement of the mission of the Prophet ﷺ. So I hope you'll accept my apologies that we haven't heard from you much. I think on that prompt the microphone's heading back. So I'm sorry that it's at the end of the session. So if anyone wants to mention anything.
I would like to say one thing that could, a simple situation that could kind of bring us all together would be when we see each other out on the street, just give each other a smile, have a smile. I don't feel like we acknowledge each other, and that's a right that we have over each other, just as, the salams, a smile, charity that we give to each other, that might uplift somebody friends today. I have sisters look me in the face and they're like, oh, should I speak? Can I not speak? I feel like sometimes that's not speaking with each other. We feel like it's a judgmental type thing. Don't judge me if I have on or something, or as you said, a different race or anything. Like we're a family, and I feel like we need to start acting more like a family.
Jazakallah khair. This is a very important sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As we know, the one who says salam first gets the more reward than the one who says it second, right? And in fact, it's narrated that one of the earlier things the Prophet ﷺ said arriving in Medina was "Afshu salam wa at'imu at-ta'am, sallu bil-layl wan-nas niyan, tadkhulu al-jannata bis-salam." This is one riwayah, and others about it, that feed people food and pray in the night when other people are saying you'll enter paradise in peace and safety, right? So very good. And this is when the Prophet ﷺ was entering into a really community building stage, right? How do I bring Muhajir and Asad together? How are we going to make this new city and so on and so forth? This is very succinct advice. Jazakallah khairan, sister. And that is reminding us of that. Last couple, inshallah, just because of the lateness of the time, I hate to cut anybody off. If anyone else has the last one. Jazakallah khairan. Apologies against the mic came to you late. I'm hoping, inshallah, that you can. That the brothers organize themselves to have some community forums, and the sisters will organize themselves to have some community forums, and we can put our heads together, inshallah, to put, as I say, put rubber to the road and actually come up with concrete solutions. I ask Allah to accept what we have said and for pardon the mistakes in it. All praise to Allah and peace and blessings upon our Master Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Ask Allah to bring our hearts and unify our hearts as one heart, and ask Allah to unite us under the banner of Rasulullah in this world and in the next world. Ask Allah to bring the Ummah of Islam back together into one Ummah with one heart, with one purpose, and that is to please you and to seek your face, O Allah. Ask Allah to cure our hearts from all of their sicknesses, all of its heaviness, all of its sadness, all of the things that distract us and take us away from you. And fill our hearts instead with your remembrance and with your obedience and with your love. Also, we ask you that you accept from us and that you unite us upon that which is good. I ask you, Allah, that you provide us with the best and that you use us for all good things. I ask Allah to put us upon the way of Rasulullah, upon his sunnah, upon his minhaj. I ask Allah to teach us those things which are beneficial for us. I ask Allah to guide us to those things which you will be well pleased with. We ask Allah by your mercy, by your might, by your honor, and that you give assistance to our brothers and sisters that are in difficulty, whether here in Norristown or in Philadelphia or anywhere in the world, our brothers and sisters in Lebanon or in Palestine or anywhere that they are under oppression or under violence or under any difficulty or any darkness from the darknesses of disbelief, from the darknesses of oppression, from the darknesses of shaitan. We ask Allah to alleviate that and to send upon them your light and your mercy and your kindness and your gentleness. يا لطيف بعبادك يا ربنا تقبل منا انك انت السميع العليم وتب علينا يا مولانا انك انت التواب الرحيم. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا واسرافنا في امرنا وثبت اقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. اللهم ربنا اغفر علينا صبرا وتوفنا مسلمين. ربنا اغفر علينا صبرا وتوفنا مسلمين. ربنا اغفر علينا صبرا وثبت اقدامنا وانصرنا على القوم الكافرين. وصل اللهم وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه اجمعين واخر دعوانا ان الحمد لله رب العالمين.